Hey, welcome back to Coogs Corner, the official podcast of University of Houston Athletics. We want you to help us continue to build champions for life by becoming a member of Cougar Pride, the fundraising arm of University of Houston Athletics. Cougar Pride's mission is to provide financial support for student-athlete scholarships and priority needs of the athletic departments. Its members consist of alumni, fans, former student-athletes, coaches, and friends that work to ensure student-athletes that they have a first-class education with a chance to excel in the classroom and in competition. Join us today by visiting uhcougarpride.com.
Hey, welcome to this month's edition of Coogs Corner, joined by Chris Pesman, the athletic director here at the University of Houston. Pes, man, we usually talk about sports, talk about spring sports, but obviously we're talking about something totally different right now. It's been like nothing in the most literal sense. It's been like nothing any of us have ever seen.
Yeah, unless you're in your mid-70s or older, the last event that affected everybody in the world was World War II. And it's unprecedented. And I've been in some unique spots just with the career path I've followed, with being at Reliance Stadium during in support of Hurricane Katrina, post 9/11. This is unlike anything. And it's, everybody, you want to be prepared for every scenario, but some scenarios you just, you can't game out, and you just have to do the best you can with what you got and figure a way forward.
Pez, the crazy thing about this is that when you go back to Katrina, things like that, you knew what was coming, and you knew that there was going to be an end in a relatively soon time period. You don't know, none of us know when this is going to end. No.
And you try to, look, when these things come out, when events happen, it's information, right? Who's got the best, most accurate information? So everybody's pinging off of each other, but you're just trying to triage the situation. And now we're kind of, we're settling in for the near term or middle term or long term. And yeah, you just don't know. And how do you manage a department with everybody spread out literally all over the country and make sure everybody's staying productive, and then making sure you're taking care of your kids, your student athletes, academically, socially, mentally, physically? It's unique. And we say that a lot of times, and it sounds glib, but there's nothing like it. There's no script, playbook, anything.
What is the chain of information? You start NCAA level, move to the conference level, move to you guys, and then obviously everybody's also got their counties and municipalities that they have to answer to and adhere to as well.
Yeah, I don't say this because I work here. I mean this genuinely. We're in a very because of the environment we live in, being in the South and possibility of hurricanes, our emergency operations center with the University of Houston is unbelievable. Kelly, that runs that department across campus, is extraordinary. So we have daily calls at 10 a.m. where we've got the department heads across campus and those that are part of the emergency response team that get daily briefings from the EOC that's in coordination with the county and the city and then state and then federal. And so that flows down. From an athletic side, when this all happened, really kind of like that moment when you said, okay, we're going to end up dealing with something, was Wednesday night at the basketball tournament. I was at dinner with two other ADs and the general manager for Dickies Arena. And that's when we found out Gobert had tested positive for the COVID-19, and everybody kind of looked at each other, and we kind of knew the next 48 hours were going to be really, really interesting.
When you got that word, and then the word continues to come down about the spring sports, I know you really, as a former college athlete, you really had to feel for these kids that play in the spring sports. That you just never know when it's the last time you're going to be able to put that uniform on, and I know that certainly a lot of those kids were not ready for that.
Yeah, and we were literally, I was at the arena Thursday morning when all this was kind of playing out as it related to the basketball tournament for the conference. Later in the next 48 hours was when the decision was made for all the spring sports, and it was the right decision. Absolutely, I don't think anybody questions it. But you look at these kids that, our track and field team was literally in Albuquerque, New Mexico, about to compete for a national championship. And, they stand down. I mean, everybody's in the indoor venue, warm. You can see kids warming up on the track, and, then they pulled the plug. And again, it was the right thing to do, but you're catching everybody in different states. Either, basketball was on their bus to Fort Worth, and I called Kelvin. I'm like, hey man, and you're probably going to have to turn around because this isn't happening. And fortunately, I think they were right about Madisonville, so they were able to hit Buc-ee's. But, baseball was coming back from, they were in Las Vegas. And, you think about micro and macro, we're dealing with the macro of everything. And then all of a sudden we find out that we've got a kid, or not a kid, a member of our baseball travel party on Saturday that goes in the hospital with flu-like symptoms. And then we're putting our baseball team into quarantine. So you're going big, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with the real world. Okay, this is real to us. And we've got to make sure we're taking care of these kids and, communicating with them as best you can with all the information you have during a time where there's not a lot of information, because I think everybody's trying to figure out, what's real and what isn't.
You also have the logistics of what do these kids do? A lot of these kids, they're not from right across town. Some of these kids are coming from a long way away. What do you do with them? How do you get them home? What's the best course of action, right?
Yeah, it's so once everything started shutting down for the spring, specific to the sports, we advised kids. If anybody wanted to go home, hey, go home, do what you feel most comfortable with. We had parents, we've got a lot of kids that are from Europe, particularly in golf and tennis, where they wanted to go home, and we had parents come pick them up and take them home. All of that we were working through, because, you're thinking, okay, what are the possibilities that this is just a short-term deal, and then how do we rally the troops and get everybody back? But once you got a little bit further into it, and you got a real sense of this, that there wasn't an immediate answer, that we needed to do what was in the best interest of our student athletes, let them go home. The other unique part of this is the campus is still open. Housing's still open, dining's still open, and until yesterday, library was still open. So we have, probably 40 to 60 kids that are living on campus. And how do we support them? School started back up this last Monday online, very successfully for the university during a very difficult transition. But we have kids that need help academically. So we've worked through how we're providing that through Zoom and Skype and Facebook and all those things that, I tended not to use a lot, but I'm getting really, really proficient at now.
And we don't have a choice. Desperate times, right? Hey, what's next? I mean, I know this may be looking into a crystal ball that's kind of murky right now. What do you see coming up next as far as where you go from here?
Yeah. So in the next, I think within the next week, likely sooner, a decision is going to be made about the eligibility and how we address the eligibility of those student athletes that lost their spring competition. And that's going to be in a couple of phases. There'll be the immediate phase of everybody gets a year back. And then also there's a bigger issue, because the NCAA is going to have to allow those programs to exceed their scholarship limit to be able to accommodate the kids we've signed, and then the seniors that choose to come back. So that's going to happen in the next week, likely sooner. That decision will be voted on and announced. And then, what we're continuing to do is work, day by day, hour by hour, and really kind of, if you look too far down the road, and you have to when you're managing a department like this, but it can become very overwhelming. There's been a lot of conversations about the potential impact on football season. We're working to understand what the ramifications of that would be. But look, if this impacts football season, we've got much, much bigger issues to deal with as a society than sports. And we need to be doing everything to support efforts to help those that need help.
Hey, and it's it came out that these kids are going to get an extra year of eligibility, and that's a good blanket statement. But there's a lot of logistics that goes into that, right? It's not just as simple as saying, hey, you're going to get a fifth year if you missed your spring play, right? Yeah,
and the situation changes. So I think the next phase of that is going to be I think, my personal opinion is this is a great opportunity for the NCAA to test the transfer portal and the one-time transfer exception. If somebody's coming back into a situation that they don't feel is in their best interest for any number of reasons, allow them to transfer whatever the classification without any penalty. You think about if a senior comes back and you signed a high school kid in baseball, and all of a sudden now there's a senior back and you thought you were going to be the guy the next year and start as a freshman, how does that impact those decisions? And we have to be able to remain as flexible as possible and give our student athletes the maximum amount of flexibility to get through this.
I'm just going to give you the last word, just wide open as far as, where things are and where you see them going. And I know I asked you about that just a minute ago, but just overall, how you guys have been able to handle it, and just some final words before we let you go.
Yeah, I'm very, very blessed. I've got a great staff. My leadership team, we talk every day, and then we kind of tier the conversations. We've making sure everybody's talking to everybody, and that our coaches are checking on our student athletes every day, ensuring that they're in a good place mentally, physically, in their home life. And if there's needs that we need to address, we're addressing it. The next kind of, phase of this is, we triaged it, we've gotten up and running. Now, what are the things that we can do and use this time wisely to try and get ahead? What are the you've got now something that is unprecedented within athletics, time without events. So how do we use this to get all those things haven't had a chance to get to? So we're delving deep into that. And, as a manager, we're managing a staff now that's remote, learning how to do that. But also, for me personally, it's been interesting because I'm used to the energy of being in the office, seeing our kids compete, going to events, and all of a sudden there's like an appendage that's missing by not getting that energy from being around everybody every day, and figuring out ways to impart that through technology. And we're doing a good job. We'll get through this. The coaches have been incredible. Everybody's been very patient and understanding. There's going to be things that come up that we don't know. And the best thing you can do is be honest and say, hey, I don't know. Let me figure it out. Let's get some more information. And as long as you're upfront and honest with people, they tend to work with you. And I think everybody understands how unprecedented this is and has been exceptionally patient. But, the sooner we get back to normal, but take care of things to get there, that means taking care of each other and being responsible. I think everybody can't wait for that to happen.
Well said. Chris Pesman, thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thanks, Ash. Have a great night. Wash your hands and go Coogs.
You got it, brother. Take care. Continuing here on Coogs Corner, Kristen Guthrie is the softball coach here at the University of Houston. Coach, I just talked with Chris Pesman, and man, just strange times. I'm curious, you've done this for a long time. You've played at Oklahoma, and you've coached ever since. This time of year, you're just not expected to be sitting at home. How strange is it right now?
Oh, it's eerie. We're usually away from home. Maybe we get one day a week at home. And even then we're watching video prepping for opponents. It's very different this time of season. The stress is maybe a little lower physically and mentally from not traveling and trying to win every game, but there's still a little underlying stress of not knowing what's really going to happen in the future.
I know it's disappointing on a lot of different levels. On the competitive level, you guys were playing well. Whenever this all came to us, there's one thing, there's years, let's face it, as a coach, you do this long enough, there's some seasons you go ahead, man, that'd be a good time for the season to come to an end, but this was not one of them for you guys.
No, it was not one for us. I mean, we played some really good opponents. We stepped up. We kept getting better. We were getting really excited heading into OU tournament that we're heading to Norman. Try to face, a World Series team to prep us for conference tournament. And we're confident, we're playing well. Really disappointing.
I know that was something that you were probably looking forward to as a former Sooner.
Absolutely. And I had a lot of long talks with Coach Gasso while this was going on. I leaned on her, legacy, her experience through all this. And to be honest, she hadn't had much experience in stopping the middle of season for, a worldly pandemic.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have. Give me an idea of where your program is, because it's come a long way. This is your fifth season, right? So it's come a long way. Back-to-back seasons in which you guys have finished up ranked in the nation, and I know you've got things headed on the right direction.
Absolutely. We just finished up, I think this is our fourth year as a staff, and the first RPI came out, which is the only RPI, and we're 34. So out of 296 teams, we're moving and trending in the right direction. We're receiving votes to be in the top 25 nationally. So, where we're at, we're moving in a really positive, great direction, and we're really excited for what the future holds. And hopefully we can bring back some kids from this year, and especially kids that really helped get this culture going.
You're going to get a chance to do that. How important is that the NCAA has come back and said, you guys are going to be able to get some of these people that want to come back as far as that extra year of eligibility? How big is that for you?
It's huge for us. If you look across our starting nine defensively, we have 3 seniors in crucial positions. The potential to have them back, whether the NCAA works at the kinks out and they want to come back. It sounds like majority of our seniors want to come back. We have not had that talk of, are you coming back or not? We're waiting to see what unfolds from the NCAA. There's financial implications, there's recruiting implications. So how do we navigate as coaches in the university? But definitely getting those kids back would be a tremendous plus for our program. And I think the best part of that is we've all had something taken away for a short stint, and it kind of changes your perspective and you start missing it. So hopefully that helps with some of the love of the game, make sure that our fire is burning it in our bellies and get ready to go.
It's not just as simple as saying, okay, these people can come back. It's you go out and you recruit, and I know all too well, you recruit what you're losing. You're losing a shortstop in 2021. You're trying to bring a shortstop in that's going to fill that gap, and you may not be losing that. You see what I'm saying? And it's a different thing. It's just a different mindset that you guys have to be as a staff, right?
Absolutely. And I'm interested to see what the NCAA does with the other players' eligibility. If they're giving seniors eligibility back, are they giving freshmen 4 years of eligibility back? That changes the game completely. That we're recruiting 2 years out, and we're looking 3 and 4 years out. How do we make that adjustment as a coaching staff and the game of softball? And how do we hopefully do right by the seniors and get it right through the NCAA?
One thing I want to go back to your program, and I've always said this about coaches, and most will agree. Usually, the best coaches have one thing in common: they have the best players. You guys have really been able to, and that goes hand in hand. But you guys have really been able to recruit, and really, it's been an upswing as far as the talent level has been concerned, as far as the program is concerned, right?
Absolutely. And if you look across our roster, we have some really, really good kids from the state of Texas. I think that nationally, Texas is producing a lot of top kids, and we're actually having access to those kids and getting those kids. One thing that's been different for us is the transfers. We're getting kids that maybe go away to college and want to come home or be closer to home or be a car drive away from their families and have their families watch them play. So for us, it's opened a lot of doors recruiting, especially with how well we're doing. We were in regional finals last year. You're talking about being a top 40 team. It's eye-opening to kids locally and in the state of Texas. And you're right. You could be a phenomenal coach, but if you don't have talented players, it's an uphill grind.
When you took this job, was something that you really had to look at from the standpoint of, it goes with just about every sport at the University of Houston, is that there's such a talent base at high school level that it is not, you don't have to drive very far. You don't have to have a big recruiting budget as far as travel is concerned to bring in top-notch players. Absolutely.
That was one thing in our recruiting plan, was try to the past of the University of Houston softball, you had a lot of out-of-state kids, and we still love out-of-state kids. But we focused a lot on trying to get those relationships locally, get those relationships in Dallas stronger, Corpus Christi area, South, wherever we have to go to land top kids in our state. Again, the club ball, travel ball, whatever you want to call it here is phenomenal. I mean, you have probably 4 or 5 clubs with top 20 teams in the nation. So going after those kids and landing those kids, it's a huge feat, and it's going to get our program moving.
Tell me about, I know just Logan Houlihan, who is a freshman pitcher. She made her presence felt with authority there in her first time to get in the circle. You got to have those players, and that's a freshman who's really making a statement. Absolutely.
And to be honest, she got overlooked a little bit. She had a really good sophomore year, a really good junior year. She actually got recruited her junior year, which they've changed the legislation for softball, but prior to about a year ago, we were recruiting 8th graders. So some of those kids got overlooked. And as we got pushed back, we saw Logan. Coach Gibson actually identified her and was like, hey, I think this kid has a lot of talent. I went and watched her. I was like, yes, let's try to go get her. And she was a late addition. But she came in this year and made a huge impact right away and had success. And I can't wait to see her wear Houston for 4 years and really make sure that, we're standing where we are nationally because of contributions from her.
Katie Ray Brown on the other side of that, maybe the easiest recruit that anybody had to come up with. I know the story all too well. I've known Billy Ray, her father, for a long, long time. Her grandfather went to the university, so it's a long running family tradition, and she's really produced for you.
Oh my gosh, she ranked nationally in home runs in the top 10. I mean, and it stunk. She was number 4 in the nation. We had an off weekend, and then I think she ended up dropping down to 7 or 8. But still, she ranks nationally as the American Athletic Conference home run leader, 20 games in. I mean, that kid, she's phenomenal kid, great teammate, and of course she bleeds red. But it's just phenomenal of her contribution to the team and to get experience behind the plate as a sophomore. And I guess if the NCAA grants her eligibility of actually becoming as a sophomore with 20-something games under her belt. So I'm excited to see what she does this next year. Just tremendous kid. I mean, I can't speak highly enough about that kid.
Hi, Coach Bessie. I certainly appreciate you spending a little time with us here on Coogs Corner.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, Ryan Hernandez. We welcome you into Coogs Corner. Ryan, the junior out of Brookline, Massachusetts. I got to admit, there's probably not a whole lot of guys that play baseball at the University of Houston from Massachusetts. You're there already, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's been many players from Massachusetts that play at the University of Houston yet.
You got to be careful because I know you probably play with a lot of Astros fans, and I'm guessing you're a Red Sox fan.
Absolutely. And everyone around me is a Houston Astros fan. So, I always get constantly heckled. So, I mean, it's okay. You win some, you lose some. So I just take it.
So what was how do you get down here? I know you spent a couple seasons at San Jack before transferring over, but what was the path to get down into the warmer weather?
So, in the beginning, what happened was I went to University at Albany my freshman year. I enjoyed it there, played well. I created, great relationships, but it just, the baseball aspect of it, I felt like I wanted to play at a little higher level. And I felt like, my training abilities, really helped me find a way down south. And it was cold and up north, and obviously I don't really like playing baseball in the cold. But so I chose to come down to San Jack, and my parents and I, came to a sudden decision, to just take a chance and, come down to San Jack. And overall, it was a great decision. One of my hitting coaches from up north has really good relationships with one of the coaches his name is Eric Weaver. And he, put me in a good position and said, hey, if you want to take the chance, you come down here, work hard, just like everyone else, and, earn a spot. And I said, okay, absolutely. I'll take my chances and I'll work hard. And I earned my spot at San Jack. And then basically from there, I just kept working in the fall. And I was able to, gain a scholarship from University of Houston, and I didn't pass it up at all. I played against University of Houston in the fall in a scrimmage, and I loved the stadium. I loved how they were so loud in the dugout, and the coaches were all really nice. So I took a chance, chose University of Houston, and don't regret it at all. I love it here.
I know you never got a chance to see high school baseball here, but I'm curious, even on the college level, to get, when you start getting up there in that area, that part of the country, just how difficult it is to play this game. I mean, a lot of times you'll see these teams that come down, from that part of the country, and they haven't seen a pitch outdoors until they get down here and play games against you guys. That'd be the first time they see anything that's outside of a tunnel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I went to Albany, we hadn't played on the field until our very first game. We didn't play on field. We played inside of like a dome, and we played against what's it called? What team was it this year that we played against early in the fall? I mean, in the spring. They said that they hadn't played on the field either. It was the first week. Youngstown State, correct. I just blanked for a quick second. They said that they hadn't played until that actual practice week out on the field, and they said that it was completely different playing on field, and when it's tough and it's cold and it's snowy all the time, any ounce of green grass you can go play on, you take advantage of it. So it's quite different coming down here and playing where it's hot year round and beautiful weather. So I appreciate it, and I take advantage of it because I know, sometimes the weather's not going to permit you to play. So I take advantage of that as much as I can.
Yeah, well, you took advantage of it. Your first game, I think you got 3 knocks, right? I mean, it was.
I think, I got walked, double, base hit. I took advantage of it right away. I was not waiting for anything. I loved it.
Was that sense, though, of gave you an idea that, not that there was ever a doubt as to whether or not you belonged, but there was no doubt after that you really hit the ground running, so to speak.
Absolutely. That first game, took advantage of everything. It was what we've been preparing for, the whole all fall, and just did nothing different. Went out opening day and just went and had fun, and everything else just fell into place. So I loved it, and my teammates just really supported me and supported each other, and I think the constant energy just added a little bit more enthusiasm and a little bit more excitement into the game. So it was just great. It was a great opening day for me, at least. I loved every minute.
Yeah, you're hitting. I know it's only 15 games, but still, you're hitting. You got 5 bombs. You're hitting 300. I think your slugging's 650 or whatever it is. But you seem like you're very comfortable at the plate right now.
Yeah, I was seeing the ball really well in the springs in the 15 games that we had with a lot of training that we had from our new hitting coach, Coach Esposito. He really emphasized seeing the ball well, taking advantage of pitches and hitters counts, and I just did what the plan was, and I was able to succeed pretty early in the season.
So I know what was the word like? Because I know you went through quarantine, right? I mean, you guys got to see obviously the season. What was the quarantine like, first of all?
So when we first got the phone call and we went into a team quarantine where everyone just stayed in place, it was pretty scary in the beginning because it was just out of nowhere. It was all of a sudden, and basically I just stayed in my room. My other 2 roommates, Robert Gasser and Andrew Papitonis, we were just talking, like, what do we do? And we just spoke for about 15 minutes and we were just confused. And it was a blur from my perspective. And it was really interesting it was really interesting to see how my teammates would react. And I think, we reacted pretty well to it because it was just out of nowhere, and I'm glad everyone's doing much better, that experienced a little sickness and, got over it. But it was really interesting to see how we would be quarantined, since I'd never been quarantined before. And it was kind of tough to stay in the house after been traveling everywhere and practice every day and playing every day. So locking yourself inside of your house is kind of a mood killer after such a fun, eventful weekend.
So what does a college athlete who's used to playing baseball this time of year every year do now when they all of a sudden pull the plug and just say, hey, we're shutting it down?
Honestly, when we were in disbelief, so that was probably the biggest time where I saw us come together as a team, and we were all just confused and upset and sad at the same time, especially the seniors. You know, we all spoke and we all talked about the situation that was going on and how we felt about it. And I think that was a big point. And what happened this year is a big momentum booster, though it's a step back. I think it's a momentum booster as a family, how it created us. But we had each other's backs, and I feel like we had all the tools necessary in order to, stay safe, come together as a team when we needed to, and, just hope for the best. And the little time that we had, about 2 weeks, where we didn't know if the season was going to happen or not, after our team quarantine, was another scary and, confusing time. So it's all sad and really disappointing, but what can you do now?
Yeah, it is. I'll leave you with this, and man, I appreciate your time. But there was a pretty good first baseman that played all his career for the Astros, and he was from New England as well. He was from Connecticut. That's Jeff Bagwell. It turned out pretty good for him. Another power hitting first baseman, right?
Yeah. I guess there's just something with power hitting first basemen from the north.
There you go. Hey, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for speaking with us. Thanks a lot, and good luck to you, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.